you spank somebody, I'm going to talk to you and say, look, what you did was really serious. I didn't want to spank. I didn't want to spank you at all. But what you did was serious. It put you or me or someone else in jeopardy. So please don't do this again. Don't ever do this again.
Someone put hands on me and then tell me that they love me. It's gonna be some unpacking to do as we get older. And that's why I think I wouldn't do it. So if you hit someone and you have a justification for it, what if then they carry that into their life and they allow themselves to be hit when they feel it's justified? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Future Past Podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Joel.
Today's episode, parenting. What makes you a good or bad parent? Ready to jump in?
Ready.
So what do you think? Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, how do you think your childhood or your upbringing has affected your parenting style for the good and or for the bad?
Well, my parents were my role models growing up. So a lot of what they did, not all of what they did, but a lot of what they did, I thought was excellent, was phenomenal. They were both working parents. They worked long hours, and they raised me and my brother. It was only me and my brother. He's a year and a half younger. Mm-hmm. To be very independent, to be accountable. They raised us in a church, and when we were bad, they disciplined us, but there was a lot of love in the house, a lot of love, a lot of respect. And they really raised us and taught us in a way to be men, to be responsible, Christian, decent men. And I took a lot of that with me to train and to raise my 3 kids. I had one boy and 2 girls. So it mattered a lot. I took a lot. Now there's some things that I didn't use, that maybe they were old-fashioned or ineffective, but I basically teach each kid, love each kid as the individuals they are. It's not a blanket, way of loving them or dealing with them. Mm. What motivates one might not motivate the other. In fact, it might do the opposite. So each one is very individualistic in how they act, how they think, what they do in a lot of situations, and that's how I treat them as individuals.
Yeah. I think what you just described there, since we're talking about what makes you good or bad parent, I think that awareness that you're talking about, I personally think that's what makes one a good parent, because you're taking in consideration to be the parent that each child needs, mm-hmm. Which is rather just being what you want to be or what you think they need. You're showing up for them.
Well, let me ask you, you're a young father. You're a young parent. How old is your kid?
3.
How was the way you were parented? How has it influenced the way you're raising your kid now?
I think I'll say that was going to be one of the questions. What values you basically asked it. I think that one of the things that I got from parenting was to not be physical, honestly, mm-hmm. Because a lot of people that I know now currently, most of what they're going through comes from whether their parents, whether they were or weren't physical with them. Because, a lot of time people, when someone does something physically to you, it's hard to get over, obviously, and you hold on to it in most cases forever. You're always going to have that. It's slightly different. Well, I don't want to say no different, but physical abuse versus verbal abuse can be different, I think. It seems like people hold on to one a little bit tighter, a little bit closer to the other, like harbor some sort of resentment. So I plan on, that was a long way of saying that I would never touch my son, basically, because that never happened to me. And I think that I'm the better for it. And I personally think that to handle emotions and to let your child see that you know how to navigate situations, respectfully and control your anger. If anything they are doing is angering you, to not greet it with violence. Ever. Because my mom never put a hand on me, ever.
I've seen, and having worked in the behavioral health field 35 years, emotional abuse, I think, is just as bad or can be worse. Because if you spank me once, let's say you spank me, I'm cool. Okay. I, I might remember that. I'm going to remember that spanking because hopefully it was a last resort. Okay. Wasn't like, oh, little things. You didn't give me any warning. You didn't. No, it was something that either was that horrific. I told you not to go on the street. You ran into the street, or now if you touch a hot stove, you're going to learn right away. The emotional abuse can continue. If I continue to just abuse you emotionally and verbally, you're no good. You're never going to be anything. Your dad wasn't anything. Your mom wasn't anything, whatever. That I think is long lasting and can be longer lasting than a spanking. Hey, get away from there. Spank you on the butt. Okay. You keep getting into stuff. Why do you keep doing that? You're always doing something. Why don't you learn? What's wrong? Are you messed up in the head? What's wrong with you? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Spank me. Hit me once. Let me cry, go on my way. But when you're constantly harassing me or being verbally, condescending, now you're messing with, now my self-esteem is messed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're both, I guess I'm thinking more, into relation to the people that I know, because obviously if someone's abuse is abuse, so more than likely it's not just happening one time, be it physical or verbally. More than likely it's a continuation, it's a pattern, it's how someone handles things. So if someone spanks you once, it's probably not just going to be that one time. More than likely.
Here's what I'm going to tell you how my dad raised me and my mom. I probably got spanked, I don't know, 5 times in my life. 5, probably.
And you remember them all.
And I remember why. Right. Mm. And it wasn't minor. It wasn't, oh, okay, I put my hand in the cookie jar no, they were major things. Okay. But I remember a lot of the things they said too that were hurtful, that they might not have thought were hurtful. Mm. I remember those more than spankings. I really do.
Yeah.
So it was the verbal stuff, because an example that I think it's a great example, and I use it on one of my videos. Take a 2x4, take some big nails, take a hammer the nails a third of the way into the wood. Take 10 nails, hammer in, then take the nails out. So the nails represent words. And then when you take it out, you say, I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry I said that. The damage is still there. Those holes where the nails were are still there. Representation of, let's say I curse you out and I say, I'm sorry. You can't unhear that.
Yeah.
So the damage is still done. And I think, I think it could have longer repercussions. So 5 spankings over the course of my life. Any words that said, hey, you're not good enough. Why did you do that? Don't you have any sense? Don't you have any common sense? What are you, stupid? Those things can hang around even longer.
So emotional damage was more impactful in your life.
For me, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, because either way, I think it's like tomato, because you remember the 5 spankings, which means they're
again, guesstimate, because the 5 spankings, they're not. I can't say, oh yeah, they happened when I was 3, 5. I can't even tell you when, but I definitely know that any spanking that occurred was a rarity because I learned. You don't have to tell me not to bring bad report cards in. Don't lie, or don't, do certain things that.
Wait, so are you an advocate
of spanking?
Yeah.
I think, I think
that's why you're explaining the way. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think only in extreme conditions.
Okay. Yeah. I was wondering. Oh, okay. That's why you're trying to one different than the other, like differentiate. It's relative to the person experiencing, let's say, but I personally think abuse is abuse, obviously. Mm-hmm. And for you believe that the verbal can be more impactful, but you also believe in corporal punishment. So that's probably
I don't advocate spanking Well, I don't see it. It has to be abuse. I don't see it has to be abuse.
But it is.
Is it?
Anytime you put your hands on someone,
Is that abuse?
you know what I mean.
I'm saying,
You know what I mean.
but I restrained your movement, didn't I? I restrained your movement. Well,
But you know what I mean.
yeah.
Anytime you put your hands on someone and you're causing harm, or you're trying to correct the behavior using violence, yeah, that's abuse. Absolutely.
Yeah, I beg to differ. I don't think it is. I think it depends on how far you go. If I swat my kid on the butt, I don't see that as abusive.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. No, it would probably still be abuse technically.
Okay.
Technically. But yeah, because I would do that too.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be
Yeah.
hitting or whipping or smacking my kid. But you know, sometimes you want to give them a little smack on the butt or something like that. But would I abuse?
Well, see, that's where that line is. Like, what is abuse?
Yeah.
What is abuse? Is that spank on the butt abuse? You're saying yes.
Technically, I would say technically it is.
Okay.
Yeah. But obviously there's levels to it. But yeah, technically, just anytime you put your hands on someone, because think about it, could you do that to anyone else anywhere out in the world and it'd be okay?
They're not mine.
But the action is still the same.
Well,
it doesn't matter that they're yours. It doesn't make you more able to do it.
So let me explain this. I've had to restrain people in mental health facilities for years. Is it abuse because I had to put people in holds and put people in restraints? It stopped them from doing things to harm themselves, to end their lives, or to end the lives or drastically hurt someone else. I don't see it as abuse.
No, definitely not. That's a different scenario than correcting a child, though.
Well, a child is mine as a parent. We're talking about parenting, right? So, but going out in the world and spanking someone else on the butt, well, I mean, why? Why would it? But I would redirect. So I might redirect somebody verbally, and that could hurt their feelings or whatever. They could think that's abuse.
Yeah, verbal abuse.
It could be,
yeah.
but it depends on the person, doesn't it? Like how would about determining if it's abusive or not?
Depending on how you're delivering it.
No, how it's received. Even the physical abuse could be interpret how it's so the pat on the butt. Your kid might, 20 years down the road, you abused me.
Yeah. Definitely.
You were abusive.
Yeah, they can say
right?
that. Sure.
You called me ignorant. You called me an idiot.
Well, that'd definitely be abuse.
Okay.
Sure. Right. You're verbally abusing someone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's interesting. Definitely different with that. I wonder, future past, do you think that the difference has to do with, is it the upbringing or the age difference between me and you as far as how we see that? If you had to guess, what would you?
No, I don't. I mean, there were people, I'm 61, so there were people my age that didn't believe in spanking.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessary. I think more so today than years ago that parents don't believe in spanking.
So you think it's just difference in personality between me and you?
I think it's society. I think society has made it difficult to discipline kids using any kind of corporal punishment.
Yeah.
Because teachers used to be able to spank back in the day.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Neighbors used to be able to discipline kids during the day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy, but then there was community back in the day. They weren't doing the things they do today. They didn't, that violence, that was because there was an accountability where your neighbor could say, hey, I saw Sean do it. Sean, come here. Don't do that. Don't throw stones at that car anymore.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, an extended parent or family member.
Yeah.
Right. They're trying to, in the best way possible, save you. Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay. Well, but now, are you going to say something to somebody else's kid? I mean,
no. Depending on what they're doing, but nothing that could be viewed as, potentially viewed as abusive verbally or physically. I personally, no.
Not it doesn't even have to be abusive.
Oh, well, yeah, I would say something to it. Yeah, I would correct for sure. Yeah, I would make a
Okay.
correction, but
So that might lead to someone not liking the fact that you're talking to their kid
which is okay.
in a stern way,
I can see that.
which could be confrontation between you and the parent.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you want somebody to say something to your kid?
I don't know about want, but depending, would I be okay with someone making a correction if one was needed that wasn't physically or verbally abusive? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I just want you to remember that, because there are people, again, perception, depending on who's saying it, body language, so much comes into play. Body language, proximity, somebody up in your kid's face, somebody standing over you. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's their perception. If they feel like it's abusive or they feel intimidated or threatened, because you stand over some little kid, don't do that. That's not nice. He goes run, cries to his parents. Oh, this guy over there, he scared me. Yeah.
You'd have to be aware, cognizant of all those things.
Even if you are, it still might not turn out well because it's somebody else's kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And parents can feel a certain way when it's someone else's kid.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
for sure. I wanted to ask you another question about that, though. So, as far as, do you mind if I ask you another question about that? The corporal punishment. What would stop? Like me, how I'm looking at it. I'm always trying to diffuse every situation with words. Not saying that you aren't, but I'm. For me, it's like the leading with love is the mode that I'm trying to do, just to let them know that, because basically when you correct someone for whatever they're doing, it's because they're not doing something that you want them to do, or you don't want them to do something that you deem could be harmful for them. But why is the physical the way to go over verbal?
Again, it's not. It's a last resort. It means the verbal didn't work. See what I'm saying? Yeah. If I'm telling Sean over and over again something that's important that puts you or me at risk, Sean, don't turn the gas on. Okay, I told you 3 or 4 times. Look, now you're going to blow up the house. You're going to kill us. Don't turn the gas on. It might be that, but it's a last resort. I'm not going to be, hey, Sean, how you doing? Just spank you. Right? Yeah. It's a last resort.
Yeah, I get
that sometimes, I'm just saying sometimes, but I don't know. I don't advocate for spanking, but if it's real, like I saw a kid almost run onto the train tracks. And I'm like, that kid could have died. And sometimes when you talk to kids, they don't know the seriousness of what they do sometimes. And then the other thing is, like, there are parents that are afraid to go to sleep because the kids are going to set the house on fire, or the parents are afraid of the kids. There's teachers afraid of kids, and there's parents afraid of kids. So if a kid steps to you, your son steps to you, in a certain way. And sometimes you've heard of that before, right? Where the kid starts feeling himself. Yeah, and he's going to step to you.
That sounds like a fight.
I'm gonna. No, it's gonna be a discipline. It's gonna be a discipline, because I'm not gonna go to sleep afraid that my kids are gonna set the house on fire, or my kids aren't gonna threaten me, or they're not gonna say whatever they want to me. You see what I'm saying?
That's a different situation.
It's still parenting.
That's different.
No, it's still kids and parenting. I've dealt with a lot of people's kids, and they couldn't handle their kids.
So what's the message that gets delivered by physical correction? What do you think that they receive from that?
Well, it's not
like, how
the correct is this. You spank somebody, I'm going to talk to them and say, look, what you did was really serious. I didn't want to spank you. I didn't want to spank you at all. But what you did was serious. It put you or me or someone else in jeopardy. So please don't do this again. Don't ever do this again. Now I'm just talking serious. I'm talking serious stuff. It's not like you left the cereal out, or you didn't do the dishes. Last resort. But if you're going to discipline somebody and spank them, you need to process with them. You need to talk to them and explain. and explain why you did this. But it is out of love. It should be done out of love.
I think there'd be some conflict there.
There may be. There may be.
If someone put hands on me and then tell me that they love me, there's gonna be some unpacking to do as we get older, and that's why I think I wouldn't do it. But we can move past that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might be some unpacking, but here's the thing: it depends on the child. It depends on the parent. It depends on what was done prior and what was done and said after.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's because as we keep unpacking it more, so if you hit someone and you have a justification for it, what if then they carry that into their life and they allow themselves to be hit when they feel it's justified?
Well, again, how many times would it be? Meaning, if they feel justified in being hit, right? And someone said, look, you did something, there wouldn't be a justification for other people to hit them. I'm not giving justification for anybody else to hit my kid.
But they may internalize that and just carry it. That could be the repercussion of that. They may not be able to differentiate, like, oh, it's just my parent that's allowed to hit me. You know what I'm saying? They might carry that to other aspects of their life. More than likely, they probably are.
Well, I mean, I'm teaching them not to let anybody else hit them, too.
Just saying, only I can hit you.
Oh, look. Yeah, essentially, because I'm saying, don't. If you're getting bullied, whatever, you got to defend yourself. Okay, you got to defend yourself. But if you're going to step to me, then no, that's not going to
happen. Hands on.
It may end up being that.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. So I wonder, the question would be there, does that make you a good or a bad parent? You're obviously going to say, actually, you know what? Can I answer before?
Yeah.
I don't think that makes you a bad parent. Let me preface by saying that, so this doesn't seem like contentious or confrontational between us.
No.
I don't think, because I know you're a decent human, great man, all that stuff. So no, I don't think that if someone were to handle it that way, that makes them a bad parent. Personally, I don't think so. I wouldn't do it that way, and I'm not into it, but I don't think that makes a person a bad person, depending on the severity of it, obviously. But what you're describing, last resort, you're not talking about beating the shit out of the kid. You're just talking about making a correction. I don't think that makes a person a bad parent, but I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't care what people think.
Yeah, but we're talking about what makes a good.
No, but I'm saying, but I'm saying, as a parent, some things you're going to do are unpopular to other people.
Yeah.
It may be unpopular to your kid at the time too, but then your kid may thank you later and say thank you,
or not,
yeah. or thank you and say, look, my friends didn't get disciplined, they weren't held accountable, and they're in prison or they're dead.
Or they're sitting right here thriving. Could be that too.
Or so not everybody. I mean, they could be thriving. Not everybody that looks like they're thriving is thriving.
Yeah, definitely.
Because internally, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I can sit here in a nice outfit. I got a nice car out front. I got a beautiful house. Doesn't mean I'm thriving emotionally. Doesn't mean that I was raised well.
Yeah.
It means materially and by societal standards, I'm thriving. But again, the parenting is just individual. It's an individual. It's one of the most demanding, stressful, but rewarding roles that we can assume as a parent. You can read a lot of books about it, but until you're in it, into the different situations, then that's when you have to learn how to adapt, to navigate, and to, deal with the situation. You can read a lot about parenting. I read a lot about parenting before I became a parent. I worked with thousands of other kids before I became a parent. But it was different. Like, it's different when other kids have mental health challenges, but when your kid has a mental health challenge, it's different. when other kids have eating disorders and your kid has one or whatever. It's different when it's in your house and these are your kids.
Yeah, definitely. Let me say, I've never been confronted with the situation, so I don't know. I've never had to make that sort of correction or even be in a situation where I had to decide where I needed to, leverage that sort of power against
Would
them.
you say boot camp is corporal punishment?
No, not as long as nobody's putting hands on nobody.
But if they're making you do exercises and they're making you do certain things like carry logs and all that, because sometimes they'll send kids that have trouble,
Yeah.
okay, behavior troubles to boot camp.
Yeah.
They're making them do physical stuff. You don't think that's
No, not as long as you're putting hands on. And these kids didn't sign up for it. They're just being sent there because they need behavioral corrections.
and they got people in their face like drill instructor type people.
It's a bit extreme, and it may or may not work. We don't know because everyone's so different, right? Person to person. Like some people respond to that sort of correction.
Right.
And like what you're describing, some people may, and I'm glad we spun back to this, some people may respond to physical correction and some people may not.
Right. We just respond positively.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And some people, might, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And some people, like myself, just may not be interested in doing it. And,
right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, we don't, what is good or bad,
I guess it's going to depend on you and your child and how they feel, especially growing up. They might be cool when they're younger to whatever parenting you're doing. And then they might not be, or they might flash back on, really, I didn't like this, mm-hmm. or I didn't respond to this well, or I think that my dad was a monster or my mom was a monster the way they did it.
Yeah.
And you might have more than one kid, multiple kids. And if you treat them all differently based on what motivates them, like you're saying, even if you do everything seemingly right, which you're not going to do as a parent.
Okay.
You can't. So even if you do the best you can and later on, it still might not have been good enough.
Yeah.
Because they still might not turn out the way that you expected.
Yeah. So would you consider, as far as whether being a good or bad parent is the achievements of the child, would you consider that to be good, or is it where they end up emotionally?
Neither.
What matters?
If I'm me being a good or bad parent is going to be contingent upon me and God, because I'm trying to be the best. I have to account to God for how I parent. There are kids in the Bible that didn't turn out well, but their parents were they were heroes in the Bible. They were people after God's own heart, and their kids they weren't great parents, or their kids didn't turn out well. You can be a great parent and your kid doesn't turn out well.
So how do you determine again? What
I put into it? What I put into it. So it's about me. As a parent is about me. What did I put into it? Do I feel this and that? Now I'll get feedback from my kids growing, all the way through. And that helps contribute to let me know how they think I did. But there's going to be some times where you might have kids that you've done everything for and they go another way. You train them up in the way that they should go and they did depart from it. Does that mean you're a bad parent? No, we're individuals. And if your parents raised you with love, because if there's love, it's got to be discipline. So if they raised you with love and discipline and support, I don't know.
I don't gotta be, but
I don't know. When I'm saying discipline, I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm saying you're still focused on the physical discipline.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not,
you're correct.
Right.
Apologies.
That's okay. So there's boundaries. You set limits. You set boundaries. You love them. You support them.
Absolutely.
The best way you can. You teach them. You teach them how to socialize. But again, it's one per casket. They're individuals. And you send them out into the world. Do you feel like if you've done the best you can, what if they don't turn out the way you or they expected? Maybe they get, they become addicted to drugs. Does that make you a bad parent? Okay. Maybe they unalive themselves. Does that necessarily mean that you were a bad parent?
No.
Okay. So see what I'm saying? How I feel it's individual as a parent. And then if you can get that, it helps to get that nice feedback. And it helps to get feedback from other people too. And maybe even a therapist saying, okay, run this by the therapist. And the therapist says, hey, that's good. Or maybe you might want to rethink this. I think that's how I think as far as,
Yeah. I was just wondering what people, asking you because you're sitting here next to me, what they think. Is it achievement? Like, say, for instance, if in the end your kid ends up emotionally unwell and not a contributor to themselves or society, how would you be ranking yourself on the parenting scale? Or how would anyone? Did you do a good or bad job?
mental health issues can play. I mean, it can, let's say genetically or whatever, I'm predisposed to certain things. Mm-hmm. I'm able to deal with it and be functional, maybe as depression, or functional with certain bipolar disorder, or functional. Maybe I have all the necessary things to make me to have problems with addictions, but somehow I'm overcoming it or overcame it. But now my child has those problems.
They struggle,
and they're not doing well, or they don't do well. So I'm there to support them. I'm going to be there to love them and advise them if they want it. It doesn't mean that I was a bad parent. It just means that they, as individuals, they have different things they have to deal with and overcome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I got a lawyer, I got an IT person, and I got a one that's about to be a teacher. Is that good? Yeah, But even if they weren't, even if they were living on the street or whatever, I would be sad about it. I'd feel bad about it. But above a certain age, we all make a choice. We make life decisions.
Yeah.
And so we can't keep blaming mom and dad, because
Yeah.
you can go to therapy. Certain age, you can't be like, oh, dad messed me up, mom messed me up. I'm going to stay messed up to 40 and keep blaming them. It's convenient.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's based on the work that you put in and how you show up. And like you said, whether you show up, what the intent is, if you show up with love, even in the complex scenario that is, corporal, but if you show up with love, I imagine that you can find a space where you feel good about that. Clearly you did. So people do.
I feel good about everything I put out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the work that
to
you
put them in a position to succeed.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you're going to have to figure that out too. As a young parent, you still got a long ways to go, because my kids are 33, 31, and 30. And I'm a grandfather to a 15-year-old and 11-month-old. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I've given everything I could. I worked 2 jobs for, a decent part of my life. Money, my time, my love, my affection, my effort, and the accountability factors and the discipline. I gave everything I could to put my kids in a position to be successful in life and to feel good about themselves.
Respect.
Thank you.
Respect.
Now, I can die happy because I did. You know how some people will say, there's a catchphrase, well, they did the best they could. That's not always true.
I don't love that one.
No. I hear it all the time. Well, they did the best they could. Did they though?
Yeah, exactly.
Did they?
That part.
Yeah. I can honestly say I did.
Yeah.
I feel good about. I didn't have anything else to give.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything else to give.
Yeah.
They got the best clothes. I didn't. I got what was on sale. Any time that I could give, I gave, and I volunteered at different places like the Y, and I volunteered to referee and coach in lieu of the money that I would have had to pay to get them into certain things. Because, hey, I don't have the money, but I'll coach AAU. I don't have the money, but I'll referee in exchange for letting my kids on the team. I'll volunteer at the Y and I'll teach classes and coach and do all these other things so that my kids can get these drastic discounts to be in taekwondo and swimming and all these other things that they normally would never be a part of or be able to be a part of. I'll do the sound for the dance recital so that they can be in dance class.
You did it all.
I didn't do it all, but I put it, like I said, when I say I gave it all, I gave it my all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. Respect. Yeah. I could tell, just by the way that you speak about it, that you showed up. That's what you just described there. I plan to emulate that. I plan to try to do exactly what you did. I believe personally, as someone that was fatherless, that there's more to presence than just simply being present.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are there physically, but I'm trying to be there, like spiritually, emotionally, and always possible. So I try my best to make sure that I'm on point, and thriving. Hope it works out.
And you won't know. Even they're your kid forever. So yeah, when they're 30, how they doing? When they're 21, how they doing?
Mm-hmm.
When they're 40, you're still alive, how they doing? Because you're always going to be their parent. And they may always come to you if they trust you. They're going to come to you for advice.
I hope so.
Right? And they're going to come to you for support, and they're going to bounce stuff off for you. And hopefully one day they might even take care of you. Now, you took care of them. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take care of you later on.
Yeah. I feel like that could be an indicator as well, since we're kind of having on a scale. For me, the end, for me, jumping all over the place, I see myself, surrounded by family, holding hands as they see me off. That's the end for me. That lets me know that I did good work. And whether your kid is there for you on the end, whether they're there to take care of you, to support you, whether it be emotionally, financially, whatever you need, to me, that would be also an indicator as to whether you're a good or bad parent. Because if you are not the greatest parent, they might be absent when, you need them.
Mm-hmm. What I also feel good about is I was a father to other people's kids.
Respect.
Throughout the neighborhood, in different neighborhoods. When I was in LA, when I was in Boston, here in the Philadelphia area, to kids whose parents weren't involved in their lives, or to kids whose parents were going through certain mental health or addictions issues. And so that's something God had impressed upon me, is it's not just about my kids. It's about helping kids in general.
Community.
Yes. Yes. So
you're the man, Joel.
I'm not the man. I'm just a man.
You are a man. There you go. I like that. But you were how would I say? I'm trying to think of this. You're someone that I would definitely do and would look to for mentorship or guidance. I would look to you. I respect you as a person, as a human, and the work that you put in. And you just seem like a well-rounded, decent human that has really put it all out there.
Constantly learning from others, what to do, what not to do. Constantly learning from God, because God chastises me. God disciplines me. Now, does God put hands on me? In some ways, it seems like it. It seems like it, because the things that He puts me through, the things that when He says no, and I'm the rebellious child, He lets me feel the full brunt of it sometimes. Not all the times, but the full brunt of it means I might get hurt, physically hurt.
I like that.
I mean, when God puts us in situations where we get hurt by situations, mm-hmm. We get hurt by people, right? But with God, it's in love. Like we're hurt, but He's there with us. He doesn't throw you out there and abandon you and say, okay, well, you got hit by a car, or you had a motorcycle accident, or you fell off, you fell out of a tree and you got to go through this rehab or whatever, or you got divorced and it was the most painful thing in your life, or you're encountering these mental health issues that feel like torture. But God's there to call upon, and then we can heal from that. I've been in car accidents. I'm still here. Phenomenal. And it's only because of God. I went through 2 divorces. I'm here because of God. When we get our heart broken, and the other thing about parenting is, you don't have to worry about it. And I thank God for that for you. But divorce, being a divorced parent,
I mean, knock on wood.
being a divorced parent, I mean, that's difficult because now you're not in control in what happens over there with your ex-spouse. And a lot could. And especially if you don't have you're not evenly yoked and have similar ethics and morals. And so when you're turning your kid over, if you have shared custody, you're turning them over to that ex-spouse, hoping that knowing that God's going to protect them, but hoping that the spouse is going to also protect them and not put them at risk for anything bad happening. Just like I try not, throughout my life or the life of my kids, to put them at risk by, having people come by the house that are toxic, dating anybody that was going to put my kids at risk and wouldn't respect and love my kids, not exposing them to my kids what I feel is too soon, only exposing them if it's a real serious relationship. But if it's not a real serious relationship, then no, if I'm dating, they don't need to know you.
Yeah. Good man. Good man. So you care.
Oh,
you care.
I care a lot.
Your whole heart into it. That's apparent, obviously. There's people, we're not judging. We're just, there's people out there that wouldn't be going the path that you went, as far as that goes.
And that's why I like the fact we can talk. And we don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. Absolutely. And still maintain this tone, this volume, this body posture. We're not,
I appreciate it, because within that you unpack things. Like, how do you get anywhere without working your way through it?
But there's so much divisiveness, I think, out here today where people can't talk. Mm-hmm. Where we're entrenched in our own beliefs, regardless of the facts. And so, there are people like this. I mean, I don't even want to hold conversations with certain people because, I don't I love peace in my life, and I will help God has put me in a position to help other people's kids and to help other people. And I do it in such a way as not to have the parent feel threatened. I'm not trying to take their role over their role. I'm here to help in any way that I can. I don't want parents to feel threatened that I'm taking over, or the kid, their kid, loves me or appreciates what I'm doing. But I always turn them back to the parent and say, I can only do this because your parent has given me permission to do this. Thank them. Give them thanks.
Yeah, make sure that your role is your role.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. Before we close out, can I ask you a quick question that what you just spoke about as far as us being able to converse respectfully and cordially, do you think that comes from a lack of, let me just say, I think that it may come from a lack of respect from both parties, because I feel like, because personally for me, because I respect you as a man, as a human, what you say, I'm listening, whether the views are different or anything, I don't feel a way about it, it's not mad. And then afterwards, I'll think about it, and a lot of times after we have conversations, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of gems in that, at the time, whether I was hearing it or absorbing it or not, I may or may not be. Once I think about it, I'm like, he's right, that's how a conversation, I think, is supposed to be. If you're not doing that, why even talk? What's even the point?
And I think some people just would rather not talk.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain people I'd rather not talk to.
Yeah.
Because right? Because listening. See how you're listening?
Yeah.
When you're listening, okay, attentively, eye contact,
Yeah.
you're sitting up and you're not interrupting and you're not chiming in. You're letting me, finish my whatever segment, and it's a dance. We're going back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay, which is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why when you have people that aren't active listening, because they're so ready to jump in with their opinion that they're not even hearing what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak to them, or people that are so entrenched in, what they believe, that they're not willing to listen to other points of view even.
Man, they just close off and already have their mind made up. It's already been decided. It's like, what are we even talking
And there's it's so easy to judge people, especially with social media. You can just jump on behind a keyboard and have that keyboard courage.
Yeah.
And you just like blasting people and like, you're a monster, you're this, you're that. Okay. That's your opinion, and cool, and you're entitled to it. I hope you'll at least be respectful with how you, articulate or write your stuff.
Yeah.
But I know there are trolls, and this is all new to me with the trolls and all that stuff.
Yeah. You need them. Trolls are actually supporters, low key, but good. Good. I like that. I feel like that was good stuff. Whether you feel like you're crushing it or reflecting on a moment you do differently, give yourself some grace. You're doing the hardest, most rewarding job in the world. Thank you. Appreciate you. Like, subscribe, share, comment.
Stay with God, because God is not finished with you yet. He will never leave you.
I like that. Good close. Thank you, sir.